Reactive training systems.
Because I mean, Emil basically trains like this. Monday we do deadlifts, right? Tuesday we do secondary squats. Emil squat twice a week, so that's only secondary and primary. Then Wednesday would be the tertiary deadlift, which is the one that you just mentioned, right? So it's the easiest deadlift session, and essentially that tells me after that session, like from a perspective of like not going too heavy, just because he's been doing lower body training for his third day training session in a row, right? So and then he rests one day on Thursday, and then his primary squats is on Friday, right? And then he's sort of like priming deadlift is on a Saturday. So the middle of the week deadlift gives me like a nice checkpoint to kind of evaluate where his fatigue levels are, right? And I think that during the peak because like I say, this is very experimental to a certain extent. What I've done with Emil is that I've usually write his training block, right? Every week I only update the first 3 days, and I just copy and paste Friday and Saturday, and based on how he feels on that deadlift on the Wednesday, I would then change what Friday and Saturday would look like, because like I said, that gives me a checkpoint to be like, okay, cool, this is how he's feeling, right? And then obviously we see that we like generally after a while you establish a certain sort of pattern that if Emil feels this way on a Wednesday, right? Maybe Thursday, one day of rest is not enough, right? And if he has to absolutely train on a Friday I have to dial things back down slightly, right? Or if not, if we can push the training back. Instead of resting only on Thursday, we rest Thursday, Friday, and push the training back by one day, right? Things like that. So it is like the way I see is that every session kind of like generates a certain signal, and how we use that signal and integrate that into the larger sort of like planning structure, that is also important. So I think that for people kind of like, listening out there and like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like listen to these 3 people talking about deadlifting 3 times a week and copy the program, it really, I don't want to make it too complicated than it really is, because it's powerlifting. But like, it's not just I'm deadlifting 3 times a week, therefore I'm making the gains. But it's in the context of Emil trying to improve his squat and his deadlift and potentially break the world record. This is what we needed to do.
Well, then it sounds like as well, like you're making these micro adjustments as you go, which as time goes on, I think there's a lot more importance to that than maybe it gets credit for. And you may think, I think a lot of people will think that, how big of a difference can that make, right? Like you tweak the training load or the training volume up or down a little bit, or add an extra rest day here and there. Like, how much does that really affect things? Well, I mean, I think on the whole, kind of a lot. It just the same as like making smart weight selections affects things. Maybe not so much for next week. It's not going to make a night and day difference within the next, 7 to 10 days, but you stack up good decisions, and that can make a big difference at the end of the block. You start stacking up successful blocks, and that makes a big difference over time. That by making a good choice, and a good choice that's also a difficult choice of like holding the weight back an extra 2.5 or 5 kilos today, so that we're not inducing too much fatigue or something like that, means that we can make a slightly more aggressive choice next week and build the momentum, and good decisions can compound on each other versus you know I guess what I'm getting at is just that kind of compounding. It's not taken in isolation. And I would say, like what you're talking about, evaluating and tweaking as you go based on the signals that you're getting, is really, really important to the overall outcome.
And I think I I don't want this to make it seem like, everybody listen, and every coach out there or every lifter should overanalyze everything to the point. But like I said, this was experimental in nature, with therefore I'm paying attention like that, because I'm also involved in the experiment. It's very different if I have already established certain structure and I can just tell the lifter if X then Y, and they can actually respond. Like I said, we never done deadlift 3 times a week. We're going for potentially one of the biggest competitions in the world with the biggest goals that you had, right? And like I said, we also have to balance between your, navigating through your past history of pain doing certain lifts, right? Because like I said, going into the primary squat, if Emil feels pain, it'll probably snowball in the different direction. So if I can make it snowball in the right direction, that'll be good. And I don't want this to, I'm not an apologist for I'm not trying to be an apologist for like, you should optimize every single thing and you shouldn't have any like hardship, but I also don't think that you need to make everything hard. And if you don't make everything hard, it means you're a loser, right? It's like, just because you're going to go boxing, right, and you're going to get your head punched doesn't mean your training should be like getting able to punch your head every single time. So there is that fine line. I'm not saying that you have to optimize every single thing, but there's the thing that in the context of like, if we know what the limiting factor is and if that is pain and enjoyment, I'm going to try my best to optimize to reduce that, because that is the biggest bottleneck. So, and I'm not trying to overanalyze things to optimize things. Say, oh yeah, if like your world is going to end if this is happening, because I think that there is also building resilience. And I think that this goes out to Emil as well, because I would tell Emil, like, Emil is very disciplined, right? And I think that he's very committed. And obviously you have to be committed, disciplined to the extent to achieve that kind of level. And he hates changing the program, right? And I'm the kind, I'm like, and I'm saying it's okay to change the program. So it's very different. There are some lifters that, I want to change the program all the time. Let's move this here, let's move this there. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. But Emil's the kind, like, I would like, unless the world is ending, I'm not going to change the program. So that growth for him is to sometimes understand that it's okay to change the program. But I always provide a way for him to stick to the plan. I said, if you go into the session, like let's just say you fall sick or you had a massive week of handling at nationals, right? Because Emil also helps organize nationals. He's involved in his own powerlifting community in Bulgaria, right? I'm not going to say don't go to nationals and don't grow. Just focus on yourself. Don't care about anybody else but yourself. I'm not going to say sacrifice that, but I'm like, okay, if you feel tired and you're warming up on your deadlifts and it doesn't feel good, just go on to bench. We just deadlift tomorrow. But I think for Emil, but I said that this can also be perceived in a way that if you really want to lift X amount of weight on this day, you need to show me that you can lift X amount of weight. So as you're warming up, things are moving well, right? And you feel good, which means that maybe after the nationals, you need to eat slightly better, you need to sleep better. Maybe you need to, instead of jumping into training immediately, like, you just work all day, because Emil he does online coaching as well. So instead of like staying in front of the computer and working all day and immediately after you finish your last program, you just run to the gym. Maybe you need to like take a break, maybe 20-30 minutes, right? Get your mindset right. Right. Those are things that you can kind of like work on to see if you can actually express their strength. If one side of your, like, let's just say you have like something in the equation that is not, the output is not there, you have to kind of like find other ways to see if you can actually increase the output in other ways, right? So it's also a challenge for the lifter, right, to say that what else can I do if I really want to lift this weight on this day, So it's not just like, oh yeah, you're weak today, we just skip. And then every time you feel weak, you just skip your session. It's actually not like that, right? I think that it's also a way we communicate with our lifters on what is an acceptable amount of feeling weak on that day before we think that session will not be productive, right? Like you said, Mike, it's all compounding and stacking the sessions,
Man, that resonates with me very much. Like there are certain instances where you come to a session fatigued and you should definitely push and do it anyway. And then there comes a point where it isn't like building your resilience anymore. It's just wasting a session, And as I've kind of built my dynamic load management system over the years, part of that has been trying to really clearly articulate what is that threshold. Like there is a threshold there where you should still push, and then beyond that threshold, we need to make some sort of change, and that change can come in a variety of different forms. But where are those lines? And it's really hard to nail that down. And what it's showed me is that the it's not a bright line, and the way I take it in my own system is similar to the way you described what Emil does, is maybe my system will kind of kick back to me the same sort of suggestion, like, oh, well, today was originally planned to be a deadlift day, but there's too much fatigue, so we're going to punt and we'll try to deadlift tomorrow. And I'll do very similar things where I'll show you, goddammit, and I'll maybe have a bit of extra caffeine or turn the music up a little extra loud and do it anyway. And I mean, yeah, that can have a cost too, but if it does, then I'll find out tomorrow and we'll make some further adjustments. And, you do continually, like, just because it's not a bright line doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, at
Yep.
some point you are very clearly over the line, and it becomes an easier decision to make, you know. I mean, and that's happened in a variety of different ways too. Like sometimes you're warming up and dealing with some sort of a pain issue, and you know, Mel, we've had sessions back in Washington that were like that for me as well, like where I was warming up and feeling some sort of issue and thinking like, do I pivot and just maybe I should just do something else today and find a different accessory movement that I actually can do, or do I take the risk and go ahead and push ahead? And I mean, yeah, that is a decision that has to be made, and there is a right and wrong to it, and you won't know until after. It's just how it goes sometimes.
Hey, let me tell you something that I know about you. Your lifting is important to you. It's probably one of your biggest priorities. And for people like us, nothing compares to the feeling that you get when you set a new PR. That feeling of being the best that you've ever been, of doing something that you've never done before. This is what we're all after, and it's also what RTS specializes in. Getting you the absolute best program possible so that you can hit new PRs and reach your goals. We call it radically individualized training, and we're really good at it. Whether we need to account for busy schedules or equipment limitations, or precisely turn the dials and get the details of the program just right, we have the tools and the experience to guide your lifting to the next level. To us, coaching is all about leadership, relationship, and creative problem solving. A coach should be poised to help you make tough decisions about training and competing so that you can continually grow in your development. And of course, a coach should be a first-rate problem solver, especially when it comes to your training, technique, and strategy. Now, all this has to be built off of a really strong, professional coaching relationship that emphasizes trust and respect. Additionally, RTS coaches are not on an island. We have a strong network of professionals to reach out to, so if you find yourself in need of some specific expertise, say in the realm of nutrition or injury management or sports psychology, there's a deep expertise available there too. For more information, go to store.reactivetrainingsystems.com and click on coaching. That's store.reactivetrainingsystems.com, then click on coaching. Hope to see you on the team soon.